Hi, I'm Matt Tripepi, Digital Product Marketing Manager at dunnhumby USA, and I'm here today for the South by Southwest Key Learnings or Takeaways. I guess I'm here because A, I had a great time with Russ, but B, had a lot of great learnings from South by Southwest. There were some excellent speakers, really good sessions on a very broad range of topics, but what I'm going to be talking about today is actually strategy and leadership as it relates to digital. So, heard a lot of great speakers talk about their approaches to leadership and strategy, and hopefully we'll be able to take some of those and share those with the group here that they are then able to take back to their own respective environments or workplaces.
As well. So, I took a little bit of a different view about South by Southwest. It's one of those bucket list things. Everybody talks about how awesome it is and how much fun, and it's totally true. And when you talk about how big it's gotten, if you want to go to the slide, if you want to try to put it into context in Cincinnati, it would be like us hosting a conference where one of the venues would actually be in Clifton and another one would be in Northern Kentucky. I mean, it's so spread out. I don't know if anybody's going to talk about the app itself, but South by Southwest had a great app. You could actually track where the shuttles were and the different distances between the locations, and they had all kinds of cool stuff like bikes that you could actually just pick up off the side of the street, and if you tweeted where the bike was, that was basically the payment of it. So anybody could just pick it up after you were done with it. So really progressive. Obviously, if you've ever been to Portland, it kind of feels like Portland South. Much warmer climate and better food. But I've got some images here, and Russ really put the constraints on us to say you can only have one slide. So if none of this seems to fit together down here, there's a reason for that. But I want to start off by talking about some of these pictures. So it's just crazy the random people that you see there. Like Shaquille O'Neal was there. We saw, allegedly Olivia Wilde.
She was there.
No, yeah,
I ran into her.
Did you really?
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
So I mean, there's just such a broad spectrum of people that are there. This image right here, and I could spend the whole talk talking about this particular piece of things, but there was a lot of focus on privacy or lack thereof in digital. And this is actually a rabbit's eyeball with a contact lens in it that does facial recognition. So if you've ever seen like Minority Report, we're not that far off. It's literally like 10 years away if you look at Moore's Law in terms of how quickly technology is increasing, where we'll be able to essentially take a look at people out there and know, what their credit score is and everything you'd ever want to know about them. So if you're not a Luddite, you might want to think about becoming one. And then this image here, again, is just like, I think encapsulates the craziness of South by Southwest. So this is actually from the Gaming Expo and or the gaming piece of the interactive week. And it's in a whole different location, and you walk in there and it's like sensory overload. And I was in this industry and I was blown away. People were watching gamers on this giant screen that was probably about 30 feet tall. There were 20 people playing this game and hundreds of people just sitting in the stands watching them play. So, I don't know. It's just so random. Like, there's just so much random stuff. We saw some great comedians and had some great food. But what I wanted to try and look at was, as marketers, we're always trying to think about, okay, tactical stuff. Like, what were the cool apps? How can I increase my click-through rates on emails? What's my path to purchase for Omniture or whatever? But I wanted to try and focus a little bit on the leadership side of things, because the quality of the speakers there is tremendous, and you get a lot of people that have obviously come from very different backgrounds with really good insight into leadership and strategy and things of that nature. So Foursquare, it was really interesting to hear Dennis talk, and he echoed something that you would hear from a lot of different people, where he basically talked about, hey, we provide a service, but we want people to use our API. So it's all about other people actually using what we have versus us trying to build everything ourselves. So that was pretty interesting, and he actually showed some really cool images of essentially Foursquare check-in data as a video. So you could see the pulse of a city like New York, and it was actually when they had the hurricane come through there, and you could see how half of the city just went dark and everything moved up, to the northern part of the island. So really, really interesting. Industries have to match conveniences existing in technology, and again, this was something we also heard, and from my own personal selfish perspective, a lot of grocery industry folks were talking the same way. We have a lot of catching up to do in a lot of different areas. So, the industries themselves a lot of times don't match what's happening online, right? So, record industry, perfect example, right? Leadership, blend of creative and analysis. And I think this was a key point a lot of times. And I know in our industry, we talk about analysis all the time, but there is that element of creative that's still in there, and I think that's good for all of us to keep in mind. This one was great, quicker to experiment and test theories rather than try and hash it out. Just get it out there. Let's continue to test and learn and just move on to the next thing, right? And I know we probably all experienced that in some way, shape, or form. And then exposing the data allows for building a business. So this Weather Channel CEO was essentially talking about how, again, his business model is to sell the information that they have or the data they have in the right channels and right formats. So, he's got 26,000 different weather stations that are out there that you can buy. You can buy these weather stations for $1,000, put them up, schools do them, you can put them in your backyard, but that data is being fed back to the Weather Channel, right? So they are very, very targeted in terms of how they can look at microclimates, right? So, I mean, you have a hard enough time trying to figure out what's going to happen in Cincinnati. Well, you could literally know what's happening in your particular block of Mason, not too far down the road. So, some of these, bigger thought provokers than other, but, it's always good to hear these guys talk.
Thanks, Matt.